Huh?
Stay and play.
Stay and play. Pick.
Are you recording?
I'd like to call the Wednesday, August 27th, 2025 Ion Special Council meeting to order. Janice, can you please call roll?
Councilmember Mitchell,
Here.
Vice Mayor Maida,
Here.
Mayor Rhodes,
Here.
and we have Councilmember Atlan and Councilmember Lefane out.
Do you have a microphone?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it not working?
All right, thank you. Okay, we join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I get a approval of the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have first and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Public comment. Any public comment not on the agenda? Seeing none. We'll close public comment. Okay, moving on to item F, budget workshop. The first item is the audit update attachment email.
Good evening. So if you noticed in your packet, you have an email actually from myself to Brian, who is the partner at Richardson's and Company that I've been in contact with. And so he's looking at doing his final review through the end of August into the beginning of September. And then after he does that, he'll have the audit findings, and then we have to create the management discussion and analysis, which they call the MD&A. And basically that's your front of your audit that discusses and analyzes everything that's happening in the audit, very similar to the budget message that you get in front of your budget. It's basically the part of it that explains the audit to you. So Larry Bain is scheduled to be on board for January or December or January start. So we're making headway after 4 years.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments from council?
Make it fast.
What?
Do it well and make it fast. Long overdue.
Well, the fact that we've made more progress in 4 months
And that is appreciated.
and
Don't get me wrong. I know we've had conversations and you have done everything that you can to move those forward. So I understand the public isn't always invited or gets to hear those conversations as to delays. Believe me, the city staff, Andrea, has been all over this and it needs to be noted, and you should be commended in moving that forward.
well, and the biggest one should go to Jane. I have been the one
And to
who's the
Jane.
stickler who says, hey, let's go, let's go. Jane is the one who is answering all the questions, and I only help in a supportive role when she needs another document and I can try to find it for her.
And wh-
But Jane is the one who has been putting in long hours till like 11 o'clock at
Well, with
night.
the time that has passed, it does
Yeah.
take a team, but I appreciate you
It
putting the
does.
team together, and it should be recognized that the city,
Thank you.
mainly the staff, you and her, have been doing everything in your power to move that forward quickly.
Yeah. Thank
Stay on it.
Yes, they have.
All right, any public comment on, hold on a second. Yes?
Announcement that we don't,
Grab a microphone. I don't think they can hear you.
can you just announce that we don't have our TV up tonight? So people are able to listen, but they're not.
Oh, if you're on Zoom, you can listen, but you can't comment because something's wrong with the TV or something's wrong. Oh, Chief Alfred's not here to run it, so just so everyone knows. Okay, any public comment on the first item? Seeing none? All right, close that. Second item, discussion fiscal year 2024, 2025 budget actuals.
So this is in regard to the report that I gave at the last budget workshop meeting, which was the revenue over expenses. And I said we will have that one as we clean up 2024. But meanwhile, one of the items that came up was a question regarding the transfers in and out. So I have provided Jane created a worksheet. She went back and researched all the items, the transfers in and out. And she made a worksheet that you'll see that I left on the dais, and it's also for the public over here, that tells you all the transfers in and the transfers out. We have one she's still researching, which is halfway through. You'll see under reclass transfers between funds. The very first one is general fund to itself, so it's $7,538. So we do have to do some more research on that one. But this is regarding that $3 million. There's no missing $3 million. It's a transfer between the funds, and then, which doesn't change your cash that you have. It just is moved from one fund to another, and then the transfers from the bank accounts. So that's what this worksheet is regarding the transfers to and from that was on that 24-25 revenue over expenses. And then we'll have a updated one at the September 16th meeting, the second meeting in September. You'll have the 24-25 updated revenue over expenses.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I'm glad you found that 3 million, Andrea.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that too. I know it wasn't missing, but that was brought up, so. Got anything, Mr. Mitchell?
No.
All right, open up the public comment. Any public comment on that particular item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Okay, moving on to item 3, Councilmember Atlan fund balance question, attachment A.
So I had some emails and I thought it was easier just to provide their questions in my response instead of trying to paraphrase it. So this was in the budget packet also, so you all have it in front of you. He had asked a couple questions regarding the fund balance, about missing ones from the budget. And my response is the only ones that are shown on that summary page are the ones that we're using. There will be a full listing of funds and fund balances in the budget document we bring on the 19th. This is basically the working documents for the budget that we're working on currently, the 25-26 year. So if you guys have any questions on his questions or my answers, let me know.
Okay, thank you. I have none. You guys have any?
No.
No, I read them all. Thank you.
Okay, open up the public comment. Any public comment on item 3?
So, Dave Johnson, one of the questions I remember Dominic was asking was when you guys originally approved the censure investigation, it was $15,000. And now it's almost up to 29,000. I don't know if we got an answer on that. If somebody approved the additional amount, because in the public hearing, I know you guys approved between 13 and 15, and the latest I've seen is over 28,000. So I don't know if anybody can answer that question. I know he asked it at the last one, like, hey, we're approaching 40,000, and he was looking for an answer on that. So I don't know if it can get answered or not, but I just thought I'd bring that up because I remember that was one of the things he was talking about, because it looks like it's gonna be more than double what you guys approved. Didn't know where that money was gonna be coming from, and if somebody actually did approve the over, because I'm seeing bills that they're showing coming through, but they shouldn't be paid if you guys didn't take a vote on it and add the additional amount, as far as I know. So I don't know what happened. That might have got voted behind doors or something.
I can address some of that. So most of that was in the 24-25 year, and we just received a bill today, actually, that includes part of that. So that'll all be, the year to date will be included in that report that's coming on the 16th, the revenue over expenses, and it'll be in legal. And it also will come with all those budget adjustments for the 24-25 year. Is that? No?
I guess my main question, and this is good. But did somebody authorize anything over 15,000? That was my main.
This is public comment, just so you know. You can continue, but
Yeah, so that'll all be addressed in the budget adjustments for the year in 24-25.
any other public comment? Close public comment. Okay, item 4, the ARPA update.
Hey, Andrea, can you, for the public, can you separate out the costs on that specific item?
Yeah, you mean with the detail on the 16th?
Yeah.
I will try my best. It's going to be a tight timeline to get the full budget packet done and
If it's not done by the
24-25 done.
16th, we've had a number of people ask about it. I do think we should, obviously, we want to get down, we've
Yeah.
discussed it before, down to the very detail that everyone's looking for.
And if I don't get it by the 16th, I can probably get it.
I certainly understand that, but at some
October.
point, we'd like to have the detail on that so that
Okay.
we have an answer for the public opinion. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, council. Somehow I didn't expect to be up here so quickly. But if you can look on your handout on page 8 on the compliance and reporting in the ARPA funds. I'm going to be reporting on this tonight. On page 8, at the top of the page, it states any funds not obligated for eligible uses by December 31st, 2024 must be returned to the Treasury. Any funds not expended for eligible uses by the timeline above, including any funds that have been provided to subrecipients but not fully expended under subawards, must be returned to the Treasury. Go down to paragraph 3, third line. While recipients may not incur new obligations for the use of the funds, after December 31st, 2024, recipients may reclassify the funds from a reported activity to another project that would be eligible under the program rules. You can read more on the document, and then I have a lot of backup information, but basically what this is saying is that we cannot start any new projects or use any of the remaining, they're referred to as COVID funds, ARPA funds, for any new projects. So everything had to be incurred prior to December 31st of 2024. We have plenty of qualifying receipts that we can turn in for these funds, and tonight I'm asking for direction on that. My recommendation is that I meet with the department heads and get their receipts we can pull the receipts for them, but for expenses that they incurred during this period of time, so that we can utilize the remaining $1.5 million of the ARPA funds.
Okay.
For direction, I'd say that's exactly what you need to do.
I agree. Agree. Okay,
Okay,
that's your direction.
all right, thank
Deb.
you.
Any public comment on this?
Yeah, Susan Priest from Castle Oaks. And one of the questions I had is, who's done the research to know that these expenditures are actually qualified? I read the document that it comes from, and it's very long.
So I have a list of all those. I can make them available for you. And what we will be doing is when we do have those expenses, we will be notating on them here. And I can show Susan some of these, but when you get further into it, and again, this was a short version of what you have to go through. Of course, it gets bigger and bigger. And because it was COVID and there were so many changes that happened during this period of time, there were a lot of adjustments that were made. And they even had to redefine what obligations meant for these funds, which is different from what obligations are meant in the Code of Federal Regulations. So, but the expenditure categories are pretty well laid out, and they do, and the categories go public health and negative economic impacts, and it gives examples. And so what I'll be doing and providing that information for you at the September 16th meeting is with each receipt that we have for that category, we want to match it up with one of the funds so that we're sure that we will not, if we do get audited, that we will not have to pay any of the funds back. And I'll be meeting, Andrew will be working with that along with City Manager Lee. We've talked about this. Okay.
Thank you, Debbie. Any other public comment? Do we have anyone on Zoom? I thought they can.
Can you say that if anybody wants to speak, they can unmute themselves?
If anyone on Zoom wants to speak, unmute yourself. No?
As a point of clarification, the ones doing the work will be Jane, myself, and Debbie. Debbie will be taking the lead on creating the worksheet, and then we'll be doing the research of pulling all the invoices, and she'll be matching them to what is allowable.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, moving on to item 5, Councilmember LaFane budget questions. We have an attachment.
This is a similar an email that was received with questions and then my response to those questions. It mostly had to do with donations at Howard Park and the arena, and then also the improvements that were put in by Axios when they put in the road for the school. My answers are very long and detailed, so they're been found in the packet. They're also, anybody has any questions about her questions or my answers?
Yeah, I read them all and it sounds like you answered them.
Yeah.
When did you email back, since Dominic and Allison aren't here tonight, or council
This
members?
one came after the first budget workshop, the
Right.
Allison one, and
Just one.
Dominic one was more recent.
Has he had a chance to review the answers that you've given him? I mean, when,
He has not, because they were provided, George's response, he went through George's response is I'll have her address it at the workshop. So
Yeah.
it went out in the packet.
yeah, okay. I just appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this? Nope. Okay, open up the public comment. We have any public comment on this?
The only one I had was more of a follow-up to what Allison said at the last meeting, that there was a contractor that maximum amount city manager can approve is 15,000. And it looked like whoever this vendor was billing 10,000 a month. It looked like trying to get around that. So not saying that that is, but that's how it sort of looked. So didn't know if you guys were going to address that, and it would go to the council and then they could vote to approve to pay whoever that vendor was. I forgot the name, but I think that was the one thing that stood out to me from the last meeting was we're well over the 15. I think she thought it was closer to 50,000 now because they're billing 10,000 a month. So didn't know if that got resolved at all. You weren't here for the meeting, so I don't know if
I think that'll be addressed.
you're talking about emails, so you went back and forth and we can't see them. So I just thought I'd ask that.
It was specific.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, yeah, that would be addressed at a different meeting. That's something that's not on this agenda. The emails that I was talking about, Councilmember LaFane had sent questions regarding the ACRA donations and how they were being accounted for. She had also asked about the IBCA fund donations and how it was being accounted for. And then the Axios Road, her question is relating to when they put the road in, they did a bunch of improvements that's going to benefit the Gold Village development that's going to go through, and she wanted to know how we were accounting for that. And then my questions, my answers in response to hers are listed in that email. So it didn't, yeah. Yeah, which is like a current issue.
With regards to your question, I think you'll see that on a future council meeting item so that we can clarify and get it contracted out correctly, whether it be that individual or someone else, but that will be coming up.
All right, moving on to item 6.
I gotta say something about that. If I remember right, they have to build so many houses. There was settlement on that because they'd sued Wildflower, the first developer. That's how Thomas got his, and that's how Bunce got his. I mean, Aragon got his. And there's got to be so many units built in the front, and then Aragon's got to pay Thomas off. It's the same way with the sewer that they put underneath that thing. I can't remember how many houses he's got to build, but he builds so many houses that paid for the entrance to 104, because that cost millions. And I thought he should have had to put it up front when they first did it, not this one guy. Thank you.
So I spoke to Thomas and enlisted, you can see in this budget packet, I'll just read my answer. So her question was, just for clarification, and at last I made a note from a prior meeting when Axios developer was talking about an expense putting in additional infrastructure improvements for the city AWA pipe connection or sewer, which had a benefit to the future development of Gold Village. It was several $100,000. How does the city account for and identify these transactions that improve future infrastructure donations? So she's considering a donation. My response was, I spoke with Thomas Borge regarding the sewer line installation. Axios put in a sewer line under the ACUSD access road. This sewer line will service the Gold Village development, which is that empty area in the front. Currently, the Gold Village map has expired. As a condition for approval for a new map, Gold Village will be responsible for their fair share of the sewer line installation and 1/3 of improvement costs to the intersection at Highway 104 and Foothill Boulevard. The funds will be paid to the city, and the city will pass the funds to Axios Homes. The city will not generate revenue from this transaction. The revenue to the city will be our standard sewer hookup fee and monthly sewer fees.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to item 6, fiscal year 2025-2026 budget package.
Before Andrea goes over the lengthy part of this budget summary, I would like to point out that, and Justin can come up here and speak to it more specifically, but a very significant milestone did happen in that they did complete the interconnection pipeline at a cost that you folks approved. I think it's at 462. It was previously estimated that particular project would cost over $1 million. But the reason why this interconnect project is so significant is that it allows the city much more flexibility, and that it now, since now the sewer line is connected to the tertiary plant, the city is now allowed to use the enterprise fund, number one. Number two, we can circulate the water back to Pond 5, therefore cleaning the water from Pond 5 and sending it back to Pond 5 in a cleaner state. So again, that's significant. And finally, I think it'll give us a lot more flexibility with respect to using that water, for example, like taking it to Howard Park. So we're getting some estimates now on the pipeline to dig a line to Howard Park. And if we can do that, that'll save the city about $200,000 a year in AWA water costs. So it just provides a significant amount of flexibility. Justin's here tonight. Justin, if you want to kind of go over some of the details. This is an extremely, great event for the city that Justin and they've been working very hard on.
Not to jump in, but I will. This should be on the city council meeting.
Yes, but I wanted to say this.
That's fine,
because
as long as we cover it during the city
Part of that,
council meeting, as it's
wanted
not
to,
really part of the budget.
mention it because this is part of the budget and how it's going to impact the budget positively.
I understand that, but it's not
Yes,
listed that way in the agenda, and I'd hate to have the public wondering.
It'll be on the next.
All
meeting,
right,
Council.
I appreciate that. Sorry, Justin, go ahead.
So I'm going to give a presentation next week. I will just say the pipeline has been completed. The town is officially interconnected. Yes, we can take water from the pond plant over to the tertiary plant and recirculate it back. And again, I'll go over this, more in detail next week, but, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of you drive by the pond plant, every once in a while, and you notice every probably month you're going by another aerator out there, those paddles that spin around the water. One more's out, one more's out, one more's out. Those things run 24/7 year round. So it's a lot of money, right? A lot of cost on them. They're running with water next to them. They're motors. They shouldn't have moisture by them. A lot of you folks in here are gearheads. That's not a good combination. So they're going out one by one, no matter how much grease and oil you put on them. So what's going to happen now is we're going to be able to take chlorine from the other plant, circulate it back in there. And chlorine is a natural, or not a natural, but it's an oxidizer for the bugs in the water. And so that'll help significantly with not needing to use those aerators as much year-round 24/7, now being able to supply the other plant with chlorine dosage. And this is called chemically enhanced primary treatment. And I will again go in that more detail next week. But it's connected. So congratulations, Ione. You guys are finally connected after 20 years of talks. We did it. Good job. Good job, council. Good job, town.
Thank you, Justin.
Bang that out. That was pretty darn quick.
We've literally spent, I think, $1 million on studies on how to do it. And we kept saying the pipe's already there. Just dig here, Justin. And he did. Good job.
That's why I've been sending you happy faces on the toilet paper. I hope you're getting those.
All right, Andrea, your turn.
Yeah,
Oh.
Priska. Unmute her and see if she.
Oh, thank you, Janice. Yes, I was wanting to make a
There,
previous.
Hold on so we can hear you. Okay, go ahead, Amber.
Thank you. Yes, Amber Hoyska, I just wanted to make a comment regarding the grant specifically for Picnic Hill. It's a little bit concerning to hear some of the problems still in place in August regarding expenses through 2024 that are presently being tracked. And so I just want to make sure that we are comfortable and confident in the city process that is being used for Picnic Hill, and acknowledging that it is not going to be what was done for previous grants. And so I don't know if there's any further explanations that can be discussed with that, but I know that some of the council members' comments have been on the escalating costs for some of these capital improvement projects. And a big part of that approval was that it was a grant funded project. So during the budget workshop, I just want to make sure that we're focusing on the expenses and the costs and how we're mitigating those with that process. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I can address it. It's actually one that came up today in our department head meeting. So in Cassell, we have our funds, but within our funds, we have what's called activity codes. And activity codes will let you track all funds, revenue and expenses, because that's the hard thing about government budgeting. It's all in separate funds. So when you put, it's basically job costing. It'll you to give it a code. And so we created one today, actually, Picnic Hill, because we got our first expense in for that job. So every invoice that comes in will be coded with that Picnic Hill activity code, revenue and expenses. So we can track it, get one report with everything on it. So we don't have to chase it down through a bunch of, 5 different accounts.
Okay, we have one more comment. Are you done?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead on Zoom. Do you have a name, Janice?
Needs to unmute herself.
Whoever's on Zoom wants to talk, unmute yourself. No? Okay, go ahead and do item 6, please.
All right, so the 25-26 budget, this is very similar to what you guys received at the first. There's just been a few changes based on what's been coming in. We're still receiving revenues and expenses for 24-25. Looking at the revenue and our projected year end and how that'll, if sometimes we can roll it over to the budget for 25-26, but there's not a lot of changes. If you look at the individual packets, these are the departments. Each department has its own budget. And then the big sheet is the summary that summarizes all of those departments. So what I want to really reiterate here is this budget is based mainly on revenue and expenses. Since we do not have our audits done for 4 years, the goal is to not pull from a bunch of different fund accounts because we need to have those audited so we know what we have. So this is looking at the revenue coming in and the expenses going out. Now we are pulling from some funds that we are very comfortable with, such as Measure M is a very easy one to track. And we have more than our eyes on it, Kenny's eyes on it also. And some of the other funds like the impact fees, they've been sitting there in those accounts and we're comfortable with those numbers. So if you look down at the bottom, so on the right-hand side, each one is a department and how much that department costs. And then when you get down to the bottom, you'll see total expenses, then you'll see revenue over expenses. And you can go across and see if something is over in the negative. So if you look at revenue over expenses for the government funds, you'll notice that there's a negative for the pool, which there always is, the recreation and arena, and Howard Park. And if you look right below that line, you'll see that there's designated general fund accounts, which is, even though the pool, recreation and arena and Howard Park are different numbers, they're not the 111 of the general fund. They are still a general fund account. They're just considered designated funds. So those negatives have to be covered by the general fund. So if you look, it's revenue over expenses after covering designated funds, you have $108,000 left in your general fund after covering those negatives. Does that make sense? Okay, so we did the same thing also for the enterprise fund, which is now that we're connected, and not so much that we're connected, but we're treating our own water, which makes sense because in the past I've been talking with Jane, and every year in the financial statements, they put the tertiary and the sewer plant together. They always have, even though technically one was an enterprise fund and one wasn't. In the financial statements, they're always together. So now this makes it much cleaner because they actually will be kind of one system, even though they have their separate accounts. So if you look at the revenue over expenses, you'll see you have a negative in the tertiary, which we do every year. And even after covering that negative, you'll still end up with 44,000 of your revenue. This is just revenue over expenses. So you're not going in the hole is what I was trying to point out with those numbers. What you aren't able to do this year with the budget as I have, and budget is only to put out there for council to provide and public to provide comments, so it can change. If you'll notice in the 23-24 policy, I have listed at the very bottom of the second page, it called for moving funds to the reserve, which are those accounts, the 1222 and the 1333. There is not, it's basically $598,000. That does not show, we do not have the funds with this budget to put to that reserve.
Andrew, could you repeat that for me, please? I'm a little lost.
So if you look on page 2 of the big document, at the very bottom, this little pink square at the bottom, where it says budget does not include sending funds to reserve, and it lists what the 23-24 policy was, which was sending 5% to operating reserves and 7% to capital reserves. And if you look at the column 2 and column 3, you'll see that they start out, they have a cash balance and a fund balance, and then we show nothing this year for revenue. In that first green line, there's no revenue. I don't have any revenue projected because we're not putting any aside. You would have to cut, if you want to stick to revenue and expenses and not dig into fund balances, you would have to, it's 498, you would have to take away somewhere from the budget. Do you have any questions regarding departments or the summary?
No.
I did want to make 2 points with this budget. So this is a very tight budget where I feel comfortable that it's good that we're not borrowing from anything. We're within our revenue. But that I want to make very clear. If you look at the legal page, the legal, something's got to change for legal because this year's legal, we just got another bill. So for the projected year end, it's going to be closer over probably 350. And we have you guys budgeted at 2. So there's got to be, we have to be very, very careful in our legal. That's one of the items that we really need to address. The other 2 that make this budget work is 1, the revenue we've been getting from interest. That's basically over $500,000. And then the second thing, and this goes for every year in the past, is currently we have a majority volunteer our fire department. So we have 5 paid firefighters and the majority of are on stipends. So we're not paying full salaries for fire chief, fire marshal, fire engineer. I mean, everybody. So if that was to ever change, this would completely change the budget. Because right now they're
Mackeys.
yeah, so right now the fire department, since they have Measure M, they're only taking about 200,000 out of the general fund, which
So
is
back to
huge.
the attorney thing, we're gonna put on the next agenda, the following one, we try and get it back on there where Josh can report out on his expenses. Because, you know, we set it up for 10 grand a month and we're spending 40 grand a month. And want him to report on it, why and what it's used for. So that is coming up.
I would like to mention too, just as a comment, that I think it behooves the council to ask these questions of Josh when he's already here. He comes in, we can ask him these questions, we can, and, you know, as long as we're not breaking any rules, but we can ask these questions to him personally when we have close times. And as far as the fire department, it's absolutely huge. I was on the budget committee a couple of years ago when Amy Getty was a city manager, and that was something we talked about. We're not going to have Debbie and Ken and the firefighters. They're not, you know,
not going to be working forever. I mean, I hope
They
so.
will.
They will, yeah.
They will.
Yeah, so that's something you have to think about.
We have to plan for this and we need to start planning for it. And so that's just something we need to.
Well, they have
I'm
children.
glad Andrea brought this up because it's huge, because just the amount of money that we have, the $200,000, it's going to cost that just to have a chief.
Yeah,
You
so
know.
just so you're aware in the future, because that's one of the things you have to do is project out. That is something that we need to start looking at. The other thing I want to make back to the legal, and I'm going to say this the most flat way possible. One of the issues that we have with the legal also being so high, besides I hear from the community, but then also within just staff, we have every single department that needs equipment. And they're like, it's disheartening when we have, close to 400,000 when we can't get 20, we don't have enough to get 25,000 for equipment. So it's very disheartening to see it go towards legal and not towards something that can help us get work done.
Exactly.
So our goal would be less legal so we can have more funds to actually run the city.
Yes.
Was there any other any questions you have for me?
I just want to mention something regarding legal. It's just another comment, but if we were to follow the city manager government, we need to address our issues to the city. Every one of us need to address our comments to contact legal. And we need to do something as far as something amongst us. We should vote on something about how much time we should be allowed to contact them. Because it just gets out of hand.
Yeah, that's up to you guys to fix. So the one other request that I'm making is with this budget, I know last year we had some things brought to council on budget on, so I'm asking, and I spoke to Josh about this, if we have an item that is going to be outside of the budget, I'm requesting that it has to come to finance and the city clerk to find out where the funding is going to come from, and then the city clerk to create a budget amendment so it gets approved at that time when it goes to council. So it'll all come to council as one, so we don't have to backtrack to find the approvals that were made with council without a budget adjustment. So we would just keep ourselves current. If we ever have to go outside of budget, we would make that adjustment in time when it gets approved at council. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Are you on
The running reality plan.
Exactly.
I like it.
Are you on salary schedule now?
It's whatever you guys have question on. You have this whole budget packet. If there's no questions, if you guys have the budget by department, if there's no questions there.
One of the things I will point out is that in going over this budget and going over the revenues, for the past 10 to 15 years, the city has relied solely on building permits for the revenue. And obviously, the building permits over the last few years have dried up. So I think the staff is extremely focused on looking for ways to increase the revenues. The next council meeting, there will be something on the agenda that will provide, I think the master plan for the Howard Park will be on the agenda. I think that'll be critical, I think, to generating some revenues because you have an actual way to monetize and bring revenue to the city. So again, I think the staff is very, very focused on realizing ways to generate revenues without building permits because that's kind of dried up for the moment. Now, we do anticipate more things to come in the very future, but again, that's why I want to just point out that the city solely relied on building permits and they really didn't do anything in the past to generate or develop new sources of sales tax revenue.
So I would just like to make a request, if the budget department and summary sheet, if you could open up that for public comment for any questions there before we move on.
Well, I'm going to open it all up, but
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Can you open it up
Break 'em up.
individually or you can do it all at once?
well, we already did budget by department and summary sheet, right?
Yeah.
So you want to open that?
And those two go together. So if
Okay,
you could
okay.
open it up for that, that would be ideal.
Okay, let's do
So we
that.
could stay.
Okay, all right. Anyone have public comment on the two items? Anyone Zoom? No? Okay.
Yes, actually, this is Amber Hoyska again. I had another comment. So I just want to reiterate my appreciation to Andrea for her work today. I hope that the City Council remains in a debt of gratitude as you exhibited earlier in the meeting. and keep that attitude going through the present recommendations by your accounting staff, which echo a lot of the public comments that you've had over the last, I would shorten it to maybe 6 months, but I would say that that correlates with a lot of the legal expense that has been tirelessly addressed in public comment, questioning how it was being justified. I know that these comments from Vice Mayor Maida about how to better manage your own habits has also been discussed at prior city council meetings. Again, I would say this is a workshop for the budget. And I appreciate, again, Andrea, keeping on task for that, which is to put in some better process in place for yourselves as management and habits. And I think that the suggestion of tying together the approvals is another item that I've heard council members, specifically those not present tonight, address and request. So I really appreciate that that's becoming a formalized item. Personally and professionally, I'm a little taken aback that some of these items are just being discussed in the third quarter of 2025. These are basic GAAP, which is generally accepted accounting principles. And these are not sophisticated concepts. These are basic accounting concepts. So at minimum, I would hope that our city is abiding by these processes and continues to place priority and attention on the recommendations by the accounting staff. Thank you.
Thanks, Amber.
All right, anyone else? Oh, okay. Move on to C and D, I guess.
Yeah, so the salary schedule is very similar to the previous years. So there were a few adjustments and I highlighted them in yellow. If you look at them, so I left them in just so you can see when they were added, like accountant was added in 22, 23. We haven't changed it. We left it the same. The account clerk back in 24, 25 increased to $1 to make it 20 because that's became the new minimum wage for workers in restaurants. So they upped it. You'll see the accounts coordinator I'd like to remove for 25, 26. And administrative analyst, we had a council member ask concern about the administrative analyst. And if you looked at our previous schedules from last year, they didn't quite line up. So what we did is the administrative analyst and the analyst 1, when you got to step 5, it was actually higher than step 1 of the analyst 1, which doesn't make sense for movement for staff. If they move to the next one, they shouldn't take a pay cut. So we reduced the admin analyst position and then we adjusted the next one to correlate to the next step. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so then you'll see the city manager contract that was approved in December, actually on my father's birthday. And we gave it one more step. And then if you look at the next one, there was an increase to the city clerk. The management analyst has been the same since 22, 23. That was, they created it that then, and we've just left it. The police has an analyst as needed. There's probably going to be a couple changes, and the increase to the police was per the MOU. So it's not like that can change. Same thing with, if you look at the administrative assistant, which is not highlighted, we currently have an employee in that position, so I can't just change it as they're currently working in that position and have been for years.
Any questions from council on this one? Comments?
No, I'm good.
Good to be. All right, any public comment on this one?
I'll use your notes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just real quick, when we talked about the attorney fees and stuff like that, one of the things, and I know I'm a sort of a stickler on this, but in private business, when I've owned my own business, I use my attorney to rely on, so it keeps me out of litigation and keeps me legal all the time. One of the things that I think is that bothers me is Josh is writing up contracts, when we're talking about the city manager, that exceeded the highest level you could give and extended that out, but didn't go to you guys to get a vote to even say, hey, this is the new budget. So I would say, I see, I think, a lot of errors there where other people are pointing out to our city attorney what the law is and how to keep us in a safe harbor. And that's really what you're paying them for. So the city doesn't get sued. They keep you in a safe spot. I think it's an awkward position when you guys have to vote on something that you don't have a contract over here that backs you up. I think he should have said, hey, we're exceeding this. Let's have a vote on it. And then you vote it in, everything's fine. But when an attorney bills you to write up a contract that's exceeding what your budget is, seems to be a problem. And just in the meetings I've attended, it doesn't seem like he's totally buttoned up on just the things like we saw with the train area, knowing to poll the people in the area, those kind of things, so they sort of get dropped. And while he's here, you're getting billed for those hours. So I would just say.
Well, you know, this is a salary schedule. This has nothing to do with our attorney. These are employees.
That's what I'm talking about. The salary schedule just got bumped up, what, 25 grand? And you were just talking about how much you got billed for the attorney fees. He's the one that
He's
drew
not
that up,
an
that violated
employee.
the salary schedule.
He's not an employee.
What?
He's not an employee.
You were talking about attorney fees that you paid, right? That it's like 40,000 now, and it should have been lower. So that goes part and parcel with this salary schedule is. Anyhow, I think you guys get the gist of it. And Stacy may not, but it just doesn't seem like he's keeping you guys in a safe harbor. So as that comes up, that's my 2 cents.
I think I can add some clarification. So the increase to the city managers, that was voted on in December 17th, and they were supposed to do a mid-year budget adjustment. This is the one I've talked about like 3 times now. That didn't happen. So now I have to do it at the end of the year, and that's what will be coming on the 16th is those year-end budget. So that 24-25 will be addressed with the budget adjustment. The 2025 salary schedule isn't. It's just the schedule that shows what the steps are. They would have to vote on it for that to happen. Okay.
Never got it addressed last year, is what I'm saying. They had them vote on something that wasn't.
Yeah, they didn't do the budget.
Exactly.
Yeah, they didn't do the mid-year budget adjustment.
They actually voted something that wasn't approved on a salary schedule. That's all I was saying.
Kind of goes hand in hand with the streaming reality of budgeting that we are discussing tonight, where when something goes down, we have a real-time budget adjustment as opposed to waiting.
Exactly.
And that is where we're headed.
Any other public comment on salary schedule?
I do have public comment for these budget adjustments. When that happens, you need to also include where the revenue is coming from to pay for it. So you have to have a revenue source for the expenditure. It either comes from fund balance or you identify a new revenue source. So that'll keep things more in line. When money is spent without any revenue source, that's how entities get in big trouble.
Correct.
Any other public comment?
Thank you, Sue.
Anyone
Thank
on
you,
Zoom? All right, close public comment. Okay, the last one is the interfund loan. And we got a meeting at 7, just so you know.
Okay, so the interfund loan, I had brought up on a couple times, once in the update and then also on the workshop. We have these interfund loans that you guys approved to make the payments. We've made our payments for the 24-25 year and the previous years. And my comment was, there's 2 funds that seem to be, that general fund, ARSA, and tertiary are owed money by general fund, yet general fund pays for the tertiary every year. So I said, it seems to me that can be considered a loan payment. And Mr. Atlin actually suggested that sounds about right, but we'll have to get an answer. So I contacted Larry Bain and sent him an email regarding the same thing. And he says, yes, a payment made from the general fund, you can consider a loan payment. So we'll be working on that to bring those back.
Okay. Thank you.
So that was good news.
That is good.
I got one comment or question. So
Okay.
the Facebook warriors keep saying that we are going broke. Are we broke?
Well, this budget is based on revenue and expenses, so we're not digging into revenue funds. So we addressed earlier that there's not a missing $3 million. I think that's based on maybe the previous reports that were given by the finance manager, and I believe that was a catastrophic, like if everybody quit and you had to pay out everything and all your vacation payout, your vacation buyouts. Like if you look at this budget, there's a lot of vacation buyout, but it usually doesn't happen because if people stay, there's no vacation buyout.
Right.
So no, I do not believe we're broke. I am comfortable that this budget is tight. You have $100,000 basically wiggle room in your general fund account, which the legal, if it doesn't get cut down, will blow that
Right.
out of the water. So,
You also have nothing in reserves,
well, you do have a little bit in reserve.
but not based on the policy that we put.
No,
forth
we're not
last
putting
year.
anything this year in reserves. You have.
Just pointing it out.
Yeah, this year you're not putting into reserves. You,
Suggest when you get revenue in, the first thing you do is load up my reserves, Mr. Lee.
yeah. And so, and that's a decision for council. If you want to put in reserves, then you would have to make adjustments to the budget. And that's basically what these workshops are for, is we give you our best, here's my best take, and then you give me feedback and we adjust it, and then we bring back the complete budget package.
Thank you.
So-
Okay, any public comment on that interfund loan? Anyone on Zoom? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
First and second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion adjourned.
Tight button, baby. That's one tight budget. No one has a crack if there's.
I did. Fucking big. Oh, that game on. Hey, exactly right. You're in law. So it'll probably be another $500,000. Oh, you're still live, right?
Hey, folks,
Let's wait at 7. At 7.
we're gonna fix an error that we just made. We adjourned the meeting. We have a closed session item. So we can't close the meeting. So you're gonna hear us say, we're gonna move to closed session, reopen the meeting so that we're not,
We had two agendas. One said that we had two meetings. This one was changed to where it says it's just one continuous meeting that we're going into closed session at 7. So continue chatting.
we'll be.
No, they'll be on the
Be in
in
closed
Zoom.
session by Zoom, but we can't close the one meeting and go into, you
Right.
get what I'm saying? So let's follow the rules.
Ready? Okay, we're back. We have one closed session item, and the item is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. I'd also like to note that Councilmember Atlan came in at 6:49, so he'll be joining us. Any public comment on this before we go into closed session? Seeing none, we will go into closed session. We should be back shortly. Ready? Okay, we're back from closed session. Information was received and direction was given. Anyone want to make a motion?
motion to adjourn. Second.
First and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right,